First, I'd like to thank Pinky Man, Ginit ji, and Commissioner sir. Okay, because they are listening to me. And especially Commissioner sir has actually summarized the presently situation. There is going to be a flood of litigations. Sir, I think there's already a flood of litigations. 2 साल का जो हमने देख लिया है, it's already flood. अभी tsunami आएगा. Now the responsibility to reduce this is on both sides, right? सिंपल है. अगर मुझे एक चीज पे ऑब्जेक्शन है, ठीक है, और रास्ता सीधा है, तो आप सीधा जाइए, आप घूम के मत आइए, right? So if the department has an objection on a particular point, right? So our reply should also be specific to that point. That is the basic crux. Whether our reply is accepted or not accepted, that's a process of adjudication. That is the adjudicating is a quasi-judicial authority. It is his prerogative. Okay, but your reply should not be insufficient or incapable of, so that he is handicapped to make a decision. Because when GST when you get notices, right? Most of the notices are based on AI, artificial intelligence. Today, what we are seeing 73 notices. अब artificial intelligence लगा तो it is system generated, auto generated notices, where the jurisdictional authority, it's not in its control. आप उसको बोले सर ये डेटा आपने कहाँ से निकाला, तो आपको मेजॉरिटी टाइम कहाँ से रिप्लाई आता है कि this comes on my system, this comes on my system, this discrepancy is provided by system, this is by DJRM, other sources, and since this discrepancy is coming, please explain. So our job is to identify that discrepancy. If we feel we are not able to identify because of whatever data is there in the notice is insufficient, let us apply to the jurisdictional officer, sir, what is the backup? Please give us the backup. If you are able to give us the backup, well and good. If you are not able to give us the backup, I know your query. Like you will say RCM liability as per table 2, GSTR 2 are not matching with GSTR 3B. So you know the query, but you are not able to collate the 2A figures or the 3B figures in the notice. Okay? So what should you do? What is the first thing? अरे शो कॉज कितना वेग है, आता है आपके मन में सबसे पहले, ठीक है? और हिंदी में कहावत है, लोहे को लोहा काटता है, ठीक है? तो वेग शो कॉज को वेग रिप्लाई नहीं काटेगा. जब आप इतना कहावत फॉलो मत करना, बड़े बुजुर्ग कह गए, बट वो सिचुएशन अलग था, ठीक है? ये सिचुएशन अलग है. सो डोंट फील दैट अ वेग नोटिस के सामने मैं एक वेग रिप्लाई कर दूं और मेरा काम आई हैव कंप्लाइड. I personally feel that is not the way to approach, because ultimately we have to reduce the litigation. There are some practical difficulties which are. I'll tell you one case. Like one of my clients got a notice that you have claimed this much credit note, okay, in your returns, and no documentary evidence are available, so we are confirming the demand. Section 73. It was quite vague क्योंकि क्यों credit note deny कर रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो, कुछ करो. क्लाइंट ने खुद रिप्लाई बनाया, उसका कहना था कि सर मेरा क्रेडिट नोट है ही नहीं कुछ, मैंने तो क्रेडिट नोट इश्यू नहीं किया पूरे रिटर्न्स में. लेकिन उसने रिप्लाई में क्या डालना चाहिए? आपके हिसाब से रिप्लाई में क्या डालना चाहिए? पूरे साल में कोई क्रेडिट नोट इश्यू नहीं किया है, बट शोकॉज में एक फिगर है क्रेडिट नोट का, तो क्या रिप्लाई, व्हाट शुड बी द रिप्लाई इन दिस केस? सर किसने रिप्लाई बनाया नहीं है क्या? हाँ, करेक्ट. सो दैट इज व्हाट ही आस्क्ड कि just give me the base, till the time you give the base I will not reply, I cannot file a reply. So he got an order, let's say you have not given the data, 73 time limit is coming, we will keep this pending, we will issue your notice under 74. तो ये क्लोज हो गया, अभी 74 का है. So अगर मैं होता उसकी जगह, मैं पर्सनल लेवल पे, I just tell you what I would have done. This point will always be there, that I don't know the head and tail of what data you are referring, but at the same time, see my records, I have not issued a credit note. You can see my GSTR 9. If you want, I can give you my sales register. If you want, I can give GSTR 1 breakup. I can give you a CA certificate. ठीक है? I can give you my books of accounts. Show me where I have issued a credit note. Okay. And then I'm ready to complete. So this is one step ahead, which is both sides you are covering. ठीक है, एक होता है पॉजिटिव वे ऑफ रिप्लाई, एक्टिव वॉइस, पैसिव वॉइस. So both sides we are trying to cover. So this is my approach where I try to put the responses. So with this background, ठीक है, so we start discussion on this. Now quite a few of things we have covered in the first session, 73, 74. So I'll try to keep it as crisp as possible. We'll discuss the issues. Whatever case laws we generally rely, it is there in the PPT. I'll just tell you the ratio of the case law, that what points you can take in your reply. Okay. How many of you have prepared the reply to show cause? बाकी लोगों को नहीं आया? परफेक्ट रिटर्न्स भरना ऐसा होता है, ठीक है. सो इफ आइदर यू फाइल योर करेक्ट रिटर्न्स या उनका रिटर्न गलत है, क्योंकि हम जो लगता है रिटर्न सही है उसमें शो कॉज नोटिस ज्यादा आ गए, ठीक है. सो if you have filed a reply and if you have read the show cause, of course first task show cause में ये आता है कि what is the background, what does the department object, what is the basis. If you compare state and center show cause notices, you will get different feeling. ठीक है, that's completely different product है. Okay, central show cause में, central GST के show cause में you will get facts, you will get allegations, you will get explanation. तो थोड़ा it's easier to determine कि वो कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं. स्टेट में यू विल गेट टेबल्स, ठीक है, 73, 74 पैरा नंबर टेबल, टेबल में R2 है, वो बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हो जाता है. मतलब इतना फिगर आता है, बाद में पता चलता है 20 फिगर लिखे लेकिन ऑब्जेक्शन 21वें फिगर पे ही है. लेकिन वो टेबल में आपको 20 फिगर पहले तो चेक करने पड़ेंगे कि वो सही है कि नहीं. यार आप उसको बोल्ड कर दो, हाईलाइट कर दो, कुछ तो कर दो, हम सबका टाइम बच जाएगा. बट दैट इज ओके. वी हैव टू लिव विद दिस सिचुएशन एंड वर्क आउट अ solution in this case. Okay. So topic is reply to show cause and other notices also. Just to summarize, what are the notices? One is general letters notices, DRC 1B, 1C, then ASMT 10, DRC 1A, 73, 74, and majorly what we get is recovery notice, DRC 13. It may be for third person recovery. Now, before we start, few general points like all these notices you normally get communicated on the portal. Okay? You may get an SMS, you may get a email. You may get an SMS or you may get a email. You may not get it also. What is the legal position of that particular communication? Can you say that just because it is uploaded on the portal and I have not checked the portal, can I say the notice or the letter is not served to me? Because that's a common question. बोले सर मैं थोड़ी ना रोज पोर्टल बैठ के चेक करूंगा, ठीक है. आई एम नॉट, मेरे को एसएमएस नहीं आया, मेरे को ईमेल नहीं आया, मेरे को कुछ नहीं आया, तो आई विल प्रिज्यूम कि मुझे नोटिस नहीं आया. बट द लीगल पोजीशन इन दिस सिनेरियो इज स्लाइटली different. The legal position in this scenario is slightly different. If you see section 169, communication on the portal is also a valid mode of communication. There are various communication modes and each is independent mode. So communication on the portal is also a valid communication. Therefore, now assessees are regularly checking every day the portal. There are now softwares जो आपका notices fetch करके आते हैं. मतलब आपको एक डैशबोर्ड में, बिकॉज यू मे हैव 20 रजिस्ट्रेशन, 25 रजिस्ट्रेशन. तो पहले ये सॉफ्टवेयर नहीं था, तो मेरे क्लाइंट्स को मैं यही बोलता था कि आपके टीम में 4 जन हैं, उनको जोन वाइज बांट दो, ठीक है. तो एवरी डे मॉर्निंग एंड एंट्री में एग्जिट होता है अटेंडेंस, वैसे आप पोर्टल भी एक बार चेक कर लोगे कि हैव यू मिस्ड एनीथिंग. बिकॉज स्पेशली अपील में once you miss the statutory provision and condonable provision, it is difficult, there is no provision to give you extension for time limit. Okay. Next, legal issues are, now this will, sir is here, but I'll just see. There's a legal issue. What if your order is unsigned? And what if your show cause notice is unsigned? What is the legal impact of this? There are many cases where you see the order is unsigned. Signed means even DSC is a valid sign. But whenever you see many of the cases, because the officer may not be compatible with working with the system or for various other reasons. The notice comes as unsigned. What is the legal position of that? Can you contest the notice purely on the point that it is unsigned and therefore it is not a notice at all? Okay? Can you contest a notice saying that it is an unsigned notice and purely and it is not a notice or order at all? Okay? So what are the legal, some case laws are there. Order was unsigned. So Bombay High Court in Ramani Suchit said this order is not valid. Of course, in that case, the assessee went and said, I have received an unsigned order and therefore I did not file a appeal. Now I have got a recovery claim. So this order was unsigned, was set aside. You go back, tell the officer will issue a signed order, and from that date your period of appeal will start. Did the demand go? The demand did not go. Okay. But if we apply this, there's a time limit to issue adjudication orders. So if the day when he signs, if the time limit is gone, your demand goes off. Technically, we can argue it this way. So there was one more case, Railsys, where the SCN was not signed. So High Court said this is not valid SCN, but you go back to the officer again and you furnish your reply because that's a writ petition. DRC1, if it is not uploaded online. See, when you see show cause notice in the previous session, you saw show cause notice has two parts. One is the main show cause notice and other is the DRC1. Of course, you will have interchangeability. Sometimes you will only receive DRC1. Sometimes you receive show cause notice. Sometimes DRC1 is equal to show cause notice. We'll discuss that also. So what is the difference? If you read rule 142, this is the notice under 73 and the summary in DRC1. Okay? So summary is what is uploaded on the portal. Along with that, you have the attachments also. So therefore, in this case, DRC1 was not issued on the portal. So High Court said no, it has to be issued electronically. So you again go back to the officer. The next question is a legal point which you can take in your reply, of course. Whether DIN is mandatory on communications issued on the GST portal. Everybody is aware of DIN. Okay? Is it mandatory on all documents? If your correspondence does not contain DIN, what should you do? This DIN is applicable for CGST and some states, not all states. Okay. So if your show cause or this thing does not have a DIN, are you supposed to reply or not supposed to reply? Or you are supposed to tell him, sir, DIN nahi hai, please issue करके दे दो. गलती हो गई यार उससे क्या है? हाँ? Are you supposed to tell him, please, there is no DIN, issue a show cause notice? Or you will wait for the last day to show cause notice to go and then tell him, sir, इसमें DIN नहीं. That is the ideal approach, right? So आप सिर्फ वन पेज बोलोगे अरे ये तो रिप्लाई फटाफट बन जाएगा स्टाफ को बोलो सिर्फ एक तारा डालो देयर इज नो डिन रिप्लाई फाइल ठीक है दैट इज ओके यू कैन फाइल अ रिप्लाई लाइक दिस दैट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम बट उससे आपकी डिमांड ड्रॉप नहीं होगी सो इन दिस केसेस इंक्लूड दिस पॉइंट व्हाई इंक्लूड दिस पॉइंट बिकॉज दिस कैन हेल्प यू इन future. But the fundamental point which I feel will not work out is what is DIN? What is the purpose of DIN? To know that the document is genuine. नहीं तो कोई भी फेक समन्स लेके आपके प्रीमाइस में घुस जाएगा कैश वैश जो भी है कॉन्फिस्केट करने का कोशिश कर लेगा टू स्टॉप दैट DIN का फैसिलिटी आया था जो पोर्टल पे डॉक्यूमेंट है आप बोलोगे फेक है can you say the portal document is fake? So technically there is no requirement of, from the background perspective, there is no requirement of DIN. There was similarly a judgment केरला में किसी ने बोला सीजर ऑर्डर जो है उस पर DIN नहीं बना है तो जज ने बोला आपके सामने ही तो ऑर्डर बना है उसने आपके सामने गुड्स थे आपके सामने कॉन्फिस्केट सीज किया आपने उस पर साइन किया और आप DIN मांग रहे हो उस पर वो तो ऑथेंटिक है तो देयर इज नो रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ DIN मे बी वो लॉजिक आएगा सो इट मे नॉट हेल्प यू in getting the demand zero, but it's a technical point which you should take. Rule 88C, DRC1B, everybody is aware. If 1 versus 3B difference is there, we get DRC1B, which we are supposed to file in 7 days, the reply or pay the amount. Now, why reply to DRC1B is crucial? Can anybody tell me? Why DRC1B is more dangerous than show cause? It will not let me file GSTR1. Next. recovery proceedings. Recovery is more dangerous because recovery will also start when my explanation is not found satisfactory. My explanation is not found satisfactory. आप बता भी नहीं रहे हो कि सर आप मेरी explanation से खुश नहीं हो. आप सीधा मेरे बैंक वाले के पास चले गए, बोले अभी अकाउंट हमें दे दो. ठीक है, राइट, सिंपल सी बात है. So your DRC 1B, because it is a self-assessed tax, if one is higher, 3B is lower, it's a self-assessed tax. You are admitting that I have a liability. But there are various cases where this happens. ठीक है, यू इशूड अ क्रेडिट नोट इन 1 मंथ, उसको 1 में चढ़ा दिया आपने. अब आपके पास एडजस्ट करने को लायबिलिटी नहीं है. यू एडजस्ट इट इन द नेक्स्ट मंथ, देयर बी अ डिफरेंस इन 1 3B. तो आपको डीआरसी 1 भी देखना है तो या तो क्यूमुलेटिव देखिए, एक फाइनेंशियल ईयर का दूसरे फाइनेंशियल ईयर में हो सकता है. सो देयर आर वेरियस केसेस, बट इफ योर एक्सप्लेनेशन इज नॉट फाउंड सेटिस्फैक्टरी, देयर कैन बी ऑटोमेटिक रिकवरी proceedings, DRC 1D issue करके. So therefore we need to be careful for DRC 1B. It should not go unanswered. The reply should be properly given all the data and supportings. Submit reply online, also submit it physically, and if possible meet the officer and explain your case. That is the best which you can do to avoid any automatic recovery proceeding. So rule 142B is there, which gives the recovery proceedings. Then the newest entry DRC 1C. ठीक है, जैसे एयरलाइन की सीट्स होगी ना ABCDF वैसे. ठीक है, सो न्यूएस्ट एंट्री DRC 1C. व्हाट इज DRC 1C? 3B वर्सेस 2B, सबको आता ही है. बट इसमें ठीक है, आपने रिप्लाई कर दिया, अब तक कोई एक्शन नहीं हो रहा. बट खुश होने की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है, थोड़े टाइम में इस पे भी एक्शन आ जाए, बिकॉज इट्स अ न्यू रिटर्न. इसका डेटा अब तक प्रॉपरली सिस्टम में कैप्चर फ्रॉम दैट एंगल नहीं हो रहा है. So the threshold is 25 lakhs or 20% variance, whichever is lower. So if you get DRC 1B, basically your ITC availed in 2B, showing in 2B, is lower than your ITC availed in 3B. So there are fundamental issues in this. For example, a simple case. Rule 42 is there in CGST. What is the Rule 42? Rule 42 is for exempted reversal. What is the procedure? Do a provisional reversal and then do a final. Final, if it comes, we have reversed more. What do? Recredit. We take a recredit. In 3B return, is there a separate column for recredit? There is no column for recredit. So you will club it in your main. Now system doesn't know that the amount which is appearing in table 4A5 is recredit. Since system doesn't know, it will give you a DRC 1C. Now one of my clients in March, कुछ कैलकुलेशन एरर हो गया, उसने अराउंड 25-30 करोड़ एक्स्ट्रा रूल 42 में रिवर्स कर दिया पूरे साल में. तो अब हमने मार्च में रिक्रेट लिया उसका. ठीक है, इमीडिएटली DRC 1C तो आ गया, तो रिप्लाई भी रेडी था. अब हम रुके हुए हैं कि कब डिपार्टमेंट आता है, क्योंकि अमाउंट इतना ह्यूज है, इतना वेरिएंस है कि बिकॉज ऑफ दैट अमाउंट दे विल कम. And when they come and when I explain DRC 1C, will they go? Will they go? नहीं. Yes या no sir? I DRC 1C के लिए मैंने explain किया. Will the investigation team go back once I explain my Rule 42 stand? नहीं. वो शक्ति कपूर का डायलॉग आता है, क्राइम मास्टर गो गो, आया हूं तो तू लेके जाऊंगा. ठीक है. So once you don't get DRC 1C, your investigation may expand to other areas also. So therefore, whenever you get this notice, please file the reply within time and giving a detailed breakup. That is my request for you. Instead of giving just standard liner, let us, if you have 4 things, you can prepare a table. If you have 4 reasons for variation, prepare a table, give the amount and keep the backup ready. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट कॉमन नोटिस इज ASMT 10. ठीक है, ASMT 10 तो सबको आया होगा जिनको शो कॉज भी नहीं आया. ठीक है, ASMT 10 इज बेसिकली इन्विटेशन लेटर. इट्स एन इन्विटेशन ना सर, आइए चाय पे बुलाया है, राइट. ठीक है, इट्स बेसिकली एन इन्विटेशन लेटर. व्हाट इज बेसिकली ASMT 10? ASMT 10 is basically a notice. Notice, I'll not say a show cause notice, but it's basically an intimation which they derive from your returns. ASMT 10 can be issued only from the scrutiny of your returns. So you have to be careful. ASMT 10 can be issued only from your scrutiny of the returns. So normally whatever mismatches you find in ASMT 10, it will always be from the returns. Normally it is supposed to be there. Now the first step when you get ASMT 10, what should be your first step when you want to file a reply? What should be the first step? Get a backup of the figures. And if it is not available, that is in Maharashtra, some parameters. Other states में don't have that particular table. And Maharashtra में तो easy कर दिया वो table publish ही कर दिया कि ये parameter is this discrepancy. Suppose he writes the para and he doesn't quantify the tax. Then how will you compute? Correct? So these are all the challenges. Many a times the data in the table may not appear to be correct. Okay. Now, what is the approach? Like I explained, what we do normally, of course, your reply has to be flexible. You can't have a standard reply for all the notices. But if you know the para, okay, and you feel the data is not proper, because tomorrow if you expect the officer practically to issue a rectification to ASMT 10, practically it doesn't happen that easily because whatever data he has taken, it is not that he has computed. Mostly it is system generated data. Okay. So therefore, there are two ways of replying this. One is you just reply, sir, your data is not there, it is not matching, allegations are vague, I will not file a reply. But I prefer the second option. This first part of the reply plus whatever I can reconcile and give. Whatever I can reconcile and give, I would prefer that because when I go to the officer, I tell him, sir, आपने नहीं दिया या आपके फिगर्स गलत लग रहे हैं, ये मेरे करेक्ट फिगर्स हैं, ठीक है, ये मेरे करेक्ट फिगर्स है, आप इससे देख लीजिए कोई रिस्पॉन्स मतलब कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है अनलेस आपको लगे कि करेक्ट फिगर्स देने से ज्यादा डिफरेंस आ रहा है एएसएमटी 10 से ज्यादा कभी कभी वैसे भी हो जाता है ठीक है मतलब पॉसिबल नंबर्स है हो जाता है कभी प्लस माइनस ठीक है तो फिर आप स्ट्रेटेजी चेंज किया बोलेगा नहीं लेक्चर में बोला था देना है मतलब देना है सर डिस्क्लेमर है हमारा इसमें ठीक है सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन योर फैक्ट्स इफ देयर इज अ जेन्युइन लायबिलिटी ऑफ कोर्स वी हैव टू इन्फॉर्म द क्लाइंट कि सर आपका ये लायबिलिटी आप भर दीजिए आपका इंटरेस्ट मीटर चल रहा है बेसिकली आपका इंटरेस्ट मीटर चल रहा है सो अगर कोई डिस्क्रिपेंसी छूट गई है और हमें एसएमटी 10 के तरफ भरा है तो हमें भर के उसको खत्म करना है बेसिकली सो दिस इज द अप्रोच इन दिस the next approach of course like Jimmy also gave me suggestion in this particular thing to what extent should my reply go मतलब एएसएमटी 10 का रिप्लाई एएसएमटी 11 है फिर डीआरसी 1 है कभी कभी ऑडिट में एडीटी 2 के सामने भी रिप्लाई मांगते हैं फिर आपका डीआरसी 1 है ठीक है अब ये ग्रेड्स है राइट लेवल 1 लेवल 2 जूनियर केजी सीनियर केजी फर्स्ट सेकंड थर्ड राइट आपका रिप्लाई भी ऐसे ही होना चाहिए जूनियर केजी सीनियर केजी या आपका रिप्लाई डायरेक्ट 10 स्टैंडर्ड वाला ठीक है now this all will depend on the facts and circumstances but there are some areas like I will tell you sometimes what happens we feel there is a judgment which is indirectly applicable मैं वो रिप्लाई में लिख देता हूँ ठीक है तो शोकॉज में उसका काउंटर आ जाता है शोकॉज में काउंटर आता है तो एजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी को ऑर्डर का मटेरियल मिल जाता है और यही जजमेंट आपके रिप्लाई में आता है तो वी डोंट नो सेम काउंटर आपके ऑर्डर में आएगा क्या बट इट ऑल डिपेंड 2A 3B का आपको नोटिस आया ठीक है आपने 2A 3B में सब लीगल पॉइंट्स कवर कर दिए आजकल तो 2A 3B के नोटिस तो स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्मेट ही वेबसाइट पे मिल जा रहे हैं पैकेज करके मतलब ये भी सोचा नहीं था कि सीए के पास भी अभी जाएगा नहीं उधर ही नाम नंबर चेंज करेगा और रिप्लाई डाल देगा सो वेदर ऑल लीगल रिप्लाई सबमिशंस विल सफाइस और your mere reconciliation will suffice. This all you have to determine based on fact. But your factual thing, your data and number things should ideally come at the this is a practical way. Not that legally you are barred from doing it, but practically when you give a reply, like in one of our cases, order में क्या लिखा है? Assessee has submitted a reply consisting of 35 pages. ठीक है, and it is not found satisfactory. 35 पेजेस मतलब आपको बहुत बड़ा रिप्लाई लगा शायद आपने पढ़ा नहीं या जो भी चीज था सो देयरफॉर आपका जो नंबर्स वाला पार्ट है try to keep it at the top. Numbers wala part, try to keep it at the top. Legal submissions, of course, you can keep, you have to give it, but you can always arrange the sequences. Now, this circular says, as far as possible, ASMT 10 should quantify the amount. So, what if your ASMT 10 does not quantify the amount? Is it valid or is it invalid? Show cause has to quantify the amount, right? Clear है? First session में देखा आपने? Can you get a show cause that this is your allegation? Amount will quantify later. Is it valid? No. Is ASMT without amount valid? Yes. It appears the circular says that as far as possible you quantify. Okay? But even if they don't quantify, it can give a general breakup. It may not be accurate because ASMT is there on your returns. Then once you furnish data, they will finalize and they will keep it in the show cause. So you cannot challenge a show cause saying कि sir ASMT में 100 था और show cause में आपने 120 डाल दिया. So your show cause is beyond ASMT. ठीक है? So whether that can work out or not, that's a question. There's some judgment. We'll see that also. Like this is there. Whether show cause under 73 and 74, which is based on the return, should be preceded by an ASMT 10. So I have filed returns. Let's say 1 3B difference है या क्रेडिट नोट का कुछ रीजन है या कोई और रीजन है आपने आईटीसी का कुछ प्रपोर्शनेट रूल 42 वगैरह का आपने रिवर्सल प्रॉपर नहीं किया है राइट एंड यू गेट अ शो कॉज you did not get an ASMT 10. Can you file the show cause on the ground that as per law this show cause is based on scrutiny of returns and therefore I should get a ASMT 10? Can we fight this show cause on this ground? आपका 73-74 का सेशन हुआ था ना ठीक है राइट सो कैन आई फाइट मुझे शो कॉज आया है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ डेटा इन माय रिटर्न्स टोटली ऑन दैट बेसिस कुछ ज्यादा नया डेटा उसने नहीं लिया है राइट कभी कभी क्या होता है 2A 3B का टाइम लिमिट पास में आ रहा है तो डायरेक्ट शो कॉज दे देते हैं वो लोग बेस्ड ऑन योर रिटर्न डेटा कैन यू कंटेस्ट दैट शो कॉज ऑन द ग्राउंड that it is simpliciter based on return data and therefore ASMT 10 should have come. Sir, voting elections चल रहे हैं not required. How many say not required? How many say पता नहीं? Yeah, we are also waiting for majority. ठीक है? या आएगा तो तब सोचेंगे सर हम क्यों सोचे हाँ जब आएगी जरूरत तब सोचेंगे anyways now there are two judgments ठीक है contrary so first judgment Vadivel Pyrotech says कि if your notice is based on the return data ideally you should get ASMT 10 the facts थोड़ा different है इसमें एक पुराना ASMT 10 था जिसमें allegation A था show cause notice में demand allegation B पे आया so therefore in that context High Court says no you give ASMT 10 Nagarjuna Agro judgment में बोला where is the requirement because 73 itself is an independent provision 73 itself is an independent provision where does 73 say कि there is a mandatory ASMT 10 to be issued था कोई 73 के provision में नहीं now let's go one more step ahead there is an audit होता है GST audit by department they take out some point on the basis of your returns will you ask the audit team to issue ASMT 10 or they will directly issue you a discrepancy letter because that is under section 65 so 65 61 is not in I personally feel they can issue a 73 notice directly show cause notice even it is from the returns but एक judgment है you can incorporate this point in your reply ठीक है hearing पे आप करना नहीं करना depend करता but let it come in your reply because tomorrow it should not happen you there's another judgment in your favor when you take that at higher level the court may say if you did not have objection at the first instance why are you taking objection to the show cause at the this level ठीक है so that situation should not come therefore you can take this ground law point you can definitely do that's not an issue But there are certain cases ki you had a for example, jurisdictional issue was there. So the person did not take jurisdictional initially. He went to the officer. वो लास्ट में बोलता है सर मुझे अब रियलाइज हुआ जब नया लॉयर रखा कि ये तो jurisdictional नहीं था. So that cases are there. So to avoid that, you can take this point. Mr. Chan. DRC 1A, ठीक है, प्री शो कॉज के पहले का स्टेज है. What was the purpose of DRC 1A? What is the purpose? To inform you what would be the liability. Okay. Earlier also it was there in service tax pre-show cause hearing. Okay, by a way of a circular. The only difference is in service tax there was a mandatory hearing between pre-show cause and show cause. In GST, is there a mandatory hearing after DRC 1A? The answer is no. But they made a mandatory issue of DRC 1A earlier. Then in December 20, they changed it. They made DRC 1A optional. So you do not receive a DRC 1A today. Can you contest the show cause on this ground that I did not receive DRC 1A prior to this show cause notice? Can I contest? हाँ, वोटिंग पैड्स निकालिए, ठीक है. Can I contest audience poll? Can I contest? हाँ, sorry, prior to amendment. So today, ठीक है, prior to amendment definitely, because prior to the amendment the rule says officer shall means compulsory. Okay, then they made it officer may means optional. ठीक है, may means optional. So today if I don't get DRC 1A and I get DRC 1, ठीक है, can I challenge that notice? ठीक है, correct. So you cannot challenge it today technically. So there is one judgment which supports, of course it may look out of logic slightly, but there is a judgment of New Morning Star Travels. In this, the period was 18 to 21, 22. So they said it is covering both the period. The show cause was after the amendment, but High Court said no, you should have given DRC 1A for earlier period also. So although we may not feel this, that it is certainly this law may not hold good if somebody goes to the rule, but you can have this point in your reply. There is no harm. It is not going to harm you. करके, ठीक है? So based on this judgment, you may take a stand, but don't take only this stand. हाँ, ऐसे सिर्फ इसी पे हाथ नहीं करना है आपको. वो disclaimer. नहीं, sir, I'll tell you the purpose. The purpose was when they had this pre-SCN hearing, the intentions were that each and every case should be attended by the assessee and he should come and explain us करके, so that we reduce the number of show cause notices. Then they realized during COVID and other period that when we give DRC 1A, DRC 1A क्या ASMT 10 देते थे, लोगों को पता ही नहीं रहता है नोटिस आया. कि आपको पता कब चलेगा नोटिस आया? जब आपको इंटीमेशन आएगा. कोई भी पहले पोर्टल रोज चेक नहीं करता था. So then they realized कि ऑफिसर्स का काम बढ़ रहा है. So they made it optional. It otherwise shall को make करने का लॉजिक क्या था? You can't say it is ऐसे ही क्लैरिफिकेटरी या रिडंडेंट है. तो वैसे हाँ. नहीं, sorry. May is optional. There are various judgments. Therefore optional, no? Officer feels easy. So if you see in Maharashtra you will invariably get DRC 1A. Okay? In many of the states you don't get DRC 1A. So invariably you get as a procedure. But tomorrow if it doesn't issue, can you go to the court and say? That's the question. हाँ, तो अप्लाई करना है बस. मैं वही बोला, पॉइंट लेना है. पॉइंट, हाँ, आर्ग्यूमेंट ले लीजिए. क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं हो कि कोई ट्राइब्यूनल में बोले यार आप 10 साल बाद कैसे जाग रहे हो वैसे. हाँ, बस ठीक. So therefore this judgment is that you can put, yes. हाँ, 10 points. हाँ, you have replied to DRC 01A for all 10 points. Correct. Now there is subsequently an You got this one point, you need to pay this rent amount along with tax, interest and penalty. Correct. In very kind points, the officer has agreed to a submission and is willing to drop the DRC. Only once the due date of notice passes, then you can take that assumption, not prior to that. Not. But principally from the tenor it appears he has accepted. Because जिसको मेहनत करनी है वो 10 पॉइंट के लिए आपको 10 लेटर नहीं देगा. So principally it looks he has accepted, but wait for the due date of notice. और वो भी क्या है 73 मिस हो गया वो 74 में चले जाएंगे. तो नहीं वैसा कुछ. बिल्कुल. हाँ. हाँ. Precisely because in the rule there is no date. Of course before DRC-1. ठीक है. See, ASMT 10 में they have given you reply for 30 days. In the rule itself it is written. DRC-1 में they did not write 30 days. So they can give you 7 days time also, technically. There is no guideline per se. Okay. So now we'll go to the issues of, you have a query? Yeah, I have one query. So suppose we consider SMT 10 and CN for one server such can we initiate those space same issue after ASMT 10, did he issue ASMT 12? See, I'll tell you, in my client's case, ASMT 12 was issued. Department filed an appeal against that. ASMT 12. So, the Joint Commissioner, this happened in the state of Tamil Nadu, the Joint Commissioner was very knowledgeable. He sent back the appeal to the department saying you can't file an appeal against ASMT 12, it's not an order. Okay? So, if you feel that that officer has done wrong, please issue another ASMT 10 and another section 73 notice. The department said no, the appeal is maintainable, they again filed the appeal. ठीक है. फिर मैं हियरिंग में गया तो लोकल लैंग्वेज में ज़्यादा समझ में नहीं आया, बट लास्ट में मुझे यही समझ में आया कि हमारा जो रिप्लाई एक्सेप्ट हो गया, डिपार्टमेंट अपील रिजेक्ट हो गया. ठीक है. सो दैट इज द केस. So department has, there's no bar to do that same thing. It can only help you going out of that malified intention if that happens. 73 का 74 बस. So there's no bar कि एक बार गलती हो गई तो उसको गलती को ही पकड़ के रखना है. मैं हमेशा सुधार सकता हूँ. ठीक है. Right. Now these are some of the points. These are where we discuss how the response to show cause should be there, the broad areas. Okay. If any of the points has been dealt in the earlier session, please let me know because already we are short of time. आप लोगों को भूख भी ज्यादा लगेगी फिर. ठीक है. हाँ तो मेरे शब्द खाना चालू कर दोगे. So broadly when you get a show cause notice, तो क्या तैयारी होनी चाहिए? What should be your preparation? First and foremost, should I have to reply or I have to go into writ petition? So should I reply to the adjudicating authority or I go to the writ petition? Is this dealt in the earlier session में विनय ने नहीं किया. ठीक. Next, 73, 74, I think so you have had a discussion in detail on the various areas. So that I will skip in my list. Then what are the technical aspects of the show cause notice on which you can challenge the show cause notice in your reply? Then the legal points. Then your drafting of reply, facts, merits on, and what should be your manner of submission, what are the practical things you can observe, and deemed closure proceedings, and personal hearing mein, what things you can take care of. This is how we'll finish this. So when you get a show cause notice, and if you feel that there is a gross violation of justice, ऐसे सबको लगता ही है कि हमारा शो कॉज गलत ही है, कोई बोलता नहीं है मुझे सही शो कॉज आ गया. If you feel कि it is totally मतलब एकदम गलत है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको, मेरे एक क्लाइंट को 2A3B का नोटिस आया. ठीक है. 5 साल का. फिर 2 महीने बाद एडिशनल डिमांड का 2A3B का नोटिस आया, क्योंकि जब हमने उनको पॉइंट आउट किया कि आपने तो स्टेट वाइज सिंगल अमाउंट कर दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया, तो उन्होंने ऑफर दे दिया. ठीक है. तो जो पहले 15 करोड़ था उसको 30 करोड़ कर दिया. फिर उनको रियलाइज हुआ उनकी और गलती है, तो वो 30 करोड़ को 65 करोड़ कर दिया, 65 करोड़ कर दिया. सो 3 शो कॉज नोटिसेस आई एम फाइटिंग ऑन 2A3B. Same period, only the manner of computation is different. Okay. And in one of the show cause notices, clearly say कि I didn't have this figure, therefore I took this. So if I'm giving you my figure updated 2A, you are supposed to take in the third show cause notice. They did not take. So this was a fit case of going to a writ petition. This was a fit case of going to a writ petition because gross violation is there, principle of natural justice violated, show cause is without fiction, or the ground on which it is there, it affects the constitutional legality of the provision. So if all these cases are there, definitely you can go for this. Oh, writ, there is a higher percentage of admission because when you go for a writ, the first hurdle you need to cross is alternate remedy. Of course, High Court will say, because you are not filing an appeal to High Court, okay? You are filing a writ under 226, which is special power. So High Court will say, why should I exercise my special power? You have an alternate remedy, please go to the normal procedure. So if these things are there in your show cause notice, and if you feel, of course, there is no harm in trying, किसी को खर्चा करना हो तो कोई problem नहीं है, lawyers खुश हो जाएंगे, but you should also evaluate whether you will be able to satisfy the bar, cross the hurdle of alternate remedy. If you feel satisfied, you can go for writ petition. Like for this client 2A 3B, we went to writ petition. ठीक है, what happened in high court? क्या हुआ होगा? डिमांड किया, हमने सनक्राफ्ट का जजमेंट दिया था, सनक्राफ्ट जजमेंट 2A 3B पे, हाई कोर्ट ने बोला एजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी शुड कंसिडर दिस एंड पास द ऑर्डर, बस इतना डायरेक्शन दिया. ठीक है, दे एडमिटेड दैट दे डिड नॉट सेट असाइड द show cause notice. So ultimately I have to go back to that particular officer, I have to submit all the data. So this is the 73 74 आपका हो गया है. आई होप फ्रॉड सप्रेशन स्टेटमेंट सब डिस्कशन हो गया है आपका प्रीवियस सेशन में, राइट? हाँ, स्किप करूं? दिस पीपीटी विल बी शेयर्ड विथ यू. देयर आर फ्यू जजमेंट्स ऑन दिस पॉइंट, लाइक व्हाट टू से, व्हाट इज फ्रॉड, व्हाट इज सप्रेशन, रेवेन्यू न्यूट्रलिटी पे क्या जजमेंट्स हैं. If something is pointed out during GST audit, department feels that it is suppression. But there are judgments that mere detection in audit does not mean suppression. Suppression means department assessee had tried to hide this particular fact. So what is apparent from your books of accounts cannot be normally called as suppression. Normally called as suppression. Okay. Now various show cause notices we get. Assessee wrongly claimed exemption. It did not come forward to the department to seek guidance. ऐसे भी show cause notice हमने पढ़े हुए. And therefore there is malified intent. ठीक है? So just because I did not seek guidance from the department or I did not go for advance ruling, that doesn't mean I have done suppression. Suppression means my intention should be to hide the facts from the department. Okay. Have you discussed time limit extensions for issue of notices? है ना? ठीक है, चलो. Okay. 7511, extension of the time limit will be extended if similar matter is pending in the other proceedings. Sorry? This is already covered, no? Yes. Yes. Impact of corrigendum to show cause. Corrigendum आया है? नहीं, ठीक है. So when do you see corrigendum is basically a rectification, ठीक है, by the department. So you get a show cause notice जिसमें कैलकुलेशन एरर था, समझ लीजिए प्लस को माइनस कर दिया, माइनस को प्लस कर दिया, राइट? ठीक है, तो उसका करेक्शन अगर डिपार्टमेंट करता है तो दैट्स अ corrigendum. Is that corrigendum valid? Or there can be other corrigendum which is when you can treat it as invalid. So the law is, if the corrigendum raises a new ground or brings to light a new facts or makes a new case, then that corrigendum has to be treated as a separate show cause notice itself, and your time limit will run from that date. So like in my client which I was explaining, 2A 3B का 3 notice है. फर्स्ट नोटिस में सी एस और आई क्लब करके सिंगल अमाउंट दे दिया, ठीक है, तो हमने हमारे रिप्लाई में दिया कि सर इसमें ब्रेकअप किधर है, सी एस और आई का आप डिमांड नहीं कर सकते, इट्स अ सिंगल अमाउंट. देन by way of corrigendum they bifurcated the all the three. Now there are judgments that a corrigendum cannot be issued after reply to show cause notice because you cannot correct. असेसी ने आपको बोला सर ये आपका एलिगेशन सही नहीं है तो आप उस एलिगेशन को करेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. If you are issuing that, treat it as a separate show cause notice. So that is the law related to corrigendum. Hmm.
What if Corrigendum issued at the time limit for issuing show cause notice itself is
Gone. So that nature of correction you have to see. So whether that nature makes a new case against you or it is only correcting a computational error. So suppose they had clearly said that your 2A 3B difference I am taking. But in that table, while taking 3B ka availment figure, suppose they took utilization figure or they took some other period figures, कुछ year का plus minus हो गया. It is arithmetical correction. That is not changing the nature of allegations against you. So that will hold good in your case. But if it is trying to make a new case, suppose they try to classify into HSN A and after your reply they feel it is HSN B, then the corrigendum to classify under HSN B will be treated as a fresh show cause notice. Now, have you had a discussion difference between form DRC-1 and show cause notice? Huh? Huh? Okay.
But he wanted to reject from all.
Huh?
And so he issued a corrigendum of a different.
In the order.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What is the contest that to feel?
Hmm.
Like corrigendum
Nee, but see, in suppose he gave you 100 rupees as refund, but in the order did he write कि normal your eligibility should be computed in a specific way? हाँ. हाँ. So that 20 rupees का there was a discussion in the order that technically it is not eligible to you. There must be something like from the it is possible he must have taken while computing the formula he took some other figure of net ITC or turnover. Then his intention was to give you 80 only. Okay. So therefore technically if your entitlement is legally 80 not 20 oh 100 then better to pay, but you feel you should get 100 then you need not pay because you are contesting it. Yes. So difference between DRC1 and show cause notice, can somebody explain? This has happened in the previous session. Difference between DRC1 and show cause notice, or DRC1 is equal to show cause notice, greater than show cause notice, lesser than notice. True or false? DRC1 एंड शो कॉज नोटिस क्या है? निकनेम है, पेट नेम, जैसे हमारे भी है, हमारे भी घर पे नाम है. ठीक है. हाँ, भाई है, एक के बिना दूसरा अधूरा है. हाँ, तो दोनों को आपने साथ में घर पे बुलाया, एक नहीं आया तो आप खाना नहीं दोगे दूसरे को. राइट. व्हाट इज द लीगैलिटी ऑफ DRC1 एंड शो कॉज नोटिस? ऑफ कोर्स आपको एक थोड़ा टेक्निकल पॉइंट लगेगा, बट दिस इज वन टेक्निकल पॉइंट यू कैन इनकर. सी इफ यू रीड रूल 142, it says proper officer will serve along with the notice under 73 a summary electronically on DR in DRC1. Okay. So there is a notice under 73 and there is a summary electronically under DRC1. So जो ट्रेडिशनली हमें शो कॉज नोटिस आते थे सर्विस टैक्स वगैरह में, तब कोई फॉर्म्स नहीं थे, बट यूज टू गेट अ शो कॉज नोटिस. वो शो कॉज नोटिस कैसे थे? इट विल कंटेन फैक्ट्स, इट विल कंटेन योर कंटेंशंस, लीगल रिप्लाईज वगैरह सब वैसे आते थे सर्विस टैक्स में. सो उसको आप शो कॉज नोटिस मान लेंगे. और जो पोर्टल पे DRC1 एक टैबुलर फॉर्म में आता है उसको हम DRC1 आएंगे ना. व्हाट इज द पर्पस? बिकॉज दिस थिंग हैज टू बी ट्रैक्ड ऑन द पोर्टल पे आपको एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करना है कि सम नोटिस इज इशू टू असेसी. वो नोटिस के सामने रिप्लाई आएगा, वो नोटिस के सामने ऑर्डर आएगा, वो ऑर्डर के सामने अपील आएगा. तो जैसे ARN नंबर आता है आपको एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करना. सो DRC1 का पर्पस जो मैं समझता हूँ वो एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करना पोर्टल पे. सो इट्स योर कवरिंग लेटर. ठीक है, एक कवरिंग लेटर है कि प्लीज फाइंड अटैच दिस पर्टिकुलर शो कॉज नोटिस. प्रैक्टिकली आपको कैसे आता है? आपको DRC-1 आता है पोर्टल पे, कभी कभी उसके साथ डिटेल शो कॉज नोटिस आता है, कभी कभी आपको उसके साथ डिटेल शो कॉज नहीं आता, ठीक है। सो इसमें सब permutation combination हो सकता है, okay. So what if you get a DRC-1 which is just titled summary of show cause notice, DRC-1 summary of show cause notice, but the contents are like a full show cause notice, facts, allegation, demands, everything. What is the legality of this particular notice? Heading is DRC-1 summary of show cause notice, contents are like a show cause notice. ऐसे भी आया है, आया ना, देखा है ना आप लोगों ने? हाँ, ठीक है. So what is the legality of this? सेकेंड क्वेश्चन पूरा करते हैं, आंसर्स एक ही बकेट में आ जाएगा. शो कॉज नोटिस आ गया 74 पे, DRC-1 नहीं आया, ठीक है. DRC-1 आपको पोर्टल पे नहीं है, बट यू गेट अ शो कॉज नोटिस 74 में या 73 में, ठीक है. DRC-1 शो कॉज नोटिस एक ही डॉक्यूमेंट इशू हो गया, ओके. एंड DRC-1 whether it is required even if show cause notice is issued manually. Let's say show cause notice is issued manually, DRC-1 is issued electronically. Then what is the position? So there was a DRC-1 without show cause notice. ठीक है, there was only a DRC-1 without any show cause notice. If you see DRC-1 ना, there are two columns. ऊपर ARN number आता है, नीचे show cause notice number आता है. So there is a DRC-1 without show cause notice. So Jui Industries High Court said that particular DRC-1 is not valid because as per the rule there has to be first show cause notice and then a DRC-1. ठीक है. So another judgment, DRC-1 is not a substitute for show cause notice, right? DRC-1 has to be submitted electronically. But if your DRC-1 contains all the allegations of the show cause, right? Just because it is titled as DRC-1, I feel you cannot say I have not been issued a show cause notice. Because Supreme Court has said, if the allegations are made clear to an assessee, merely invoking wrong provision does not affect that particular notice. So my personal view is that if you get a DRC-1, document is titled DRC-1, ठीक है. आप देखेंगे बहुत जगह DGGI भी ऐसे ही दे रहा है, मतलब titled is DRC-1 show cause notice और 20-20-30 पेज का proper show cause notice है. That field will be treated as a proper show cause notice. But there you just simply sit and get DRC-1 without any backup, without any show cause notice. You can challenge that DRC-1 on the ground that it is only DRC-1, no separate notice has been issued to me.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. So for DRC-1, there was a case where DRC-1 had tax, but it did not have interest and penalty implication in the total column.
Correct. Show cause out.
Yeah, it is there.
So see, I feel that can be at the most treated as a procedural lapse because show cause is the notice issued under 73. Rule is only asking that along with show cause you update it on the electronic. You are not issuing show cause under 142. This difference of course in the show cause में तो सभी लिख देता है department, कहीं कुछ रह ना जाए, 73 read with rule 142. But I feel it may not have a major thing. You can take it as a ground, but sustainability is a doubt. Okay. Next. हाँ.
DRC-01 has no issues. Because this can have 6 or 7 children.
So don't bring it to the attention of the department. See what happens. This is a common thing. They'll have 10 points, but they are demanding the amount only on 4 points. Okay? So when you see section 75, the DRC-7 cannot go beyond show cause notice. The order cannot go beyond show cause notice. So in the show cause notice, if there is no quantification, the only quantification is DRC-1. So therefore, if he confirms up to DRC-1, it is okay. If he goes beyond DRC-1 amount, you can definitely contest that particular demand. Okay. We'll proceed. I'll try to finish in 10 minutes. Huh? Okay. And whatever is left, then I'm there during lunch also. कोई issue नहीं है. ठीक है. Now, ठीक है. If there is a monetary limit, अच्छा, there is only a recent judgment regarding jurisdiction of the officers. ठीक है. Whether state officer can issue a show cause notice to a centrally tax administered assessee or vice versa. As per the council, this thing we have understood that they wanted to give cross empowerment to both the things. There's a recent judgment of Vardhan Infrastructure, where High Court says your intention is to give cross empowerment, but you have not issued notification till date. So you issue the notification, only then a state can give a notice to center assessee, a center officer can give to state assessee. So take this point in all your notices. Even for the past notices, if you have not taken this point, you can make an additional submission and take this point करके. Two SCNs on the same issue, as per section 6, you cannot have duplicate proceedings on the same issue. Okay? Now, I'll just summarize my points, what I basically advise when I file a reply or when we prepare a reply. Okay? Time for reply, you have 30 days. If the officer does not give you time of 30 days, you can always quote Sheetal Dilip Jain judgment and say minimum 30 days is required to give reply against DRC-1. Okay? Reply, like sir had or explained, what facts should come clear. Okay? There are, your facts should form first. Now in facts, what should you write? Okay? That is all facts and circumstances of your case. But normally I try to include the correspondence even from the audit level. Because many a times what happens, I need to show to the department that whatever submissions I'm making in the show cause reply is not an afterthought. Many a times order comes, they say this is an afterthought. Once you have pointed out, आप कुछ और चीज बता रहे हो. पहले जो आपने किया था वैसा नहीं था. But if I show कि consistently audit के time से मैं आपको यही समझा रहा हूँ कि this difference या ये explanation is this, then I can prove my case that this was not an afterthought. ठीक है. Grounds of reply, try to incorporate all the grounds. Of course, your main ground should come at the top. Whatever submissions you make, alternate. Alternate submissions means without admitting the demand. But if you want to create any alternate, that for example, assume कर लो कि आपका you can ask the ITC reversal on account of 2A 3B mismatch. Our first submission जब 2A 3B आता है, यही आता है कि law came from January 2022 and there are judgments like Suncraft and all which do not apply. Assuming they apply, then my quantum should be this much or my quantum should be this much. So all those judgment submissions you start with without prejudice. You are not affecting your main submissions. Computation to be attached wherever possible. As far as possible, also explain the computation in your reply. See, बहुत time हम क्या देखते हैं, lower level पे please find attach our working, और वो working बनता है एक टेबल, ठीक है, और वो टेबल में किसको क्या समझता है, आप भी देखेंगे अभी एज एन इंडिपेंडेंट आप बोलोगे आप वो डेटा जिसने बनाया है उसे पता है वो डेटा क्या है, क्योंकि उसने रात दिन उस पर काम किया है. योर डेटा शुड बी सच, if a person reads that data, an independent person who doesn't know the background, he should be able to correlate that with your submission. So whenever we give workings, we also explain the working in the reply. We just don't write please find attach annexure, बट हम लोग थोड़ा वर्किंग को एक्सप्लेन करते हैं कि इन दिस टेबल इतना है, ये टोटल इतना है. सो इट गिव्स मोर क्लैरिटी टू द ऑफिसर्स. ठीक है, ये जो मैं कॉमनली बोलता हूँ लॉ ऑफ एक्सेल. ठीक है, व्हाट इज द लॉ ऑफ एक्सेल, बहुत लोग को पता होगा, मैडम को पता होगा. व्हाट इज लॉ ऑफ एक्सेल? लॉ ऑफ न्यूटन अलग है, लॉ ऑफ एक्सेल अलग है. ठीक है, कि जो वर्किंग बनाता है उसी को समझता है, और 2 साल बाद तो उसको भी नहीं समझता है. क्या उसको बुलाओगे, बोले सर मेरा फाइल अलग था, किधर अलग, नहीं नहीं वो दूसरे फोल्डर में था ना सर, लिंक अलग था उसका. एक तो वो लिंक हिलने का जो REF लिखता है उसको एक्सेल को भी नहीं पता भाई देखो क्या हो गया, राइट. सो देयरफॉर you don't know how that working is there, right? And you don't know when this show cause notice will get dropped. ठीक है, शो कॉज नोटिस की कुंडली बनती है. ठीक है, तो ग्रह पोजीशन के हिसाब से उसका पता चलता है कि कब उसका फाइनल ऑर्डर आएगा. सो प्लीज whatever supporting documents are there, please store it. Another common mistake, आपको अभी तो ऑनलाइन है, हम जब पुराने केसेस में असेसी को बोलेंगे रिप्लाई, वो रिप्लाई ला के दे देगा. इसके अनेक्शर्स सर वो तो डिपार्टमेंट में है ना, आपने अपना सेट नहीं रखा, नहीं जरूरत क्या, वो डिपार्टमेंट में दे दिया ना मैंने. ठीक है, सो वी डोंट गेट अ सेकंड कॉपी कि व्हाट इज ऑलरेडी सबमिटेड टू द डिपार्टमेंट. टुडे यू हैव अ साइज लिमिट ऑफ 20 MB. ठीक है, 20 MB में आप कितना दे सकते हैं डेटा, ये आप ही को पता है। आप इतना छोटा कर देंगे वो तो वैसे ही ऑफिसर कितना देखता है उसमें और छोटा कर देंगे तो लिख देगा कि annexes are not legible, ठीक है। So therefore, if you feel your documents are more than 20 MB, there is no bar on submission. Please don't feel कि पोर्टल ने मेरे को restrict कर दिया है. You can write in your reply, I am submitting sample due to size constraint. I will submit everything in original to your. I'll submit the entire set in hard copy. So that is allowed. You should do that करके. Separate ground for penalty and time barring should be there. Now these are various judgments on this ground कि अगर show cause notice भेजे you can take assistance in your reply, ठीक है। Relied upon documents if you have not got by the department, please claim it at the first instance. Don't wait कि जरूरत पड़ेगा तब मांगूंगा डिपार्टमेंट से, ठीक है। If you feel relied upon documents is not there, please ask for it. Cross examination of persons whose statement is recorded. The law is clear. The adjudicating authority cannot rely on a statement unless he cross-examines it. Because statement was recorded before the investigation officer. Adjudicating authority before relying has to cross-examine. So you can also make request that I will cross-examine all those persons. See, that is there is a general thing, general law is there because all these are quasi-judicial proceedings. So you can ask for it. And there is a judgment, Jindal drugs, in the PPT. So this says that unless you do the cross-examination, there are various judgments after this. Unless you do cross-examination, adjudicating authority cannot rely. But cross-examination में be careful. What happens in cross-examination वो भी आपको पता रहना चाहिए. The person is called again. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ आप ही पूछोगे सवाल, कि आपको लगे सिर्फ आप पूछोगे और वो उसका सही जवाब देगा. The commissioner or the adjudicating authority can also cross question him. So it is like the person will be called again. He'll be again asked the same questions or any questions which you may like to be. And the commissioner can or the adjudicating authority can also do a cross questioning. That is how it happens. Any questions on this? No?
Sir, these days NGTP cases are going on a lot. ITP straight away denial. They just
Non-genuine taxpayers. NGTP.
Sorry.
ये मैं इतना व्हाट्सएप पे ये समझता नहीं है मुझे. हाँ, ठीक है. हाँ, नहीं वहां पे क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन में वो आदमी आज उनको ही मिल नहीं रहा. आपको मिल जाए तो वो बता भी दे कि मैंने भर दिया है. देखो उनको तो मिलेगा नहीं ना, वो ढूंढेंगे. आपको नहीं मिल रहा है इसीलिए आप सर्टिफिकेट नहीं दे पा रहे हो. अगर वो आपको मिल जाता है और पैसे नहीं भरे फिर आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते. तो इसमें क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन नहीं करें. योर प्रिंसिपल शुड बी कि यू कैन नॉट डू डायरेक्ट रिकवरी अगेंस्ट मी unless and until you. That is the principle. We are hoping Supreme Court will also give this principle. ठीक है, ideally it should come, logically it should come, but if it doesn't come तो गए फिर. ठीक है, ये तो these all are practical things. Closure proceedings I think so we have covered in the earlier session. Personal hearings, 3 hearings, 3 adjournments are allowed. He cannot give you a single notice giving 3 dates. करके that is not valid. There are judgments in this. Okay, last DRC 13. Okay, just 1 minute. DRC 13 when you get, please ascertain the balance in the vendor account. Please do not make any payment to that vendor after that particular date. Because if you make any payment, the liability will come on you. Second, I can take a stance that what is the amount payable to the vendor. So let's say my contract with the vendor is that I will pay you GST only when you file your GSTR1. Okay? I have got 10 invoices of that vendor which are outstanding and I have accounted in my books. Will I account the invoice in my books or not? I will account the invoice in my books. But my amount payable to the vendor, because I am holding the GST of the earlier period, okay, there is no amount payable to the vendor, but my ledger show this balance. So in my books, there is a ledger balance, but contractually, I am not supposed to pay to the vendor because he has not filed those invoices on the GST portal. Does DRC section 79 recovery and DRC 13 apply against me? Because what is section 79? That if you are holding some amount for some other person and if department says that you are supposed to pay this amount to that person, please pay to us instead of paying to that person. Okay. Will section 79 apply in this case? इन द लेजर देयर इज अ बैलेंस. लेजर में दिख रहा है 10 लाख रुपया मुझे पार्टी को देना है, बट वो 10 लाख मैंने क्यों होल्ड किया है? क्योंकि पुराने इनवॉइसेज या करंट इनवॉइसेज जीएसटी पोर्टल पे नहीं दिख रहे और मुझे डीआरसी 13 आ गया, तो मुझे भरना है वो 10 लाख गवर्नमेंट को कि नहीं भरना? सर कुछ तो हाँ या ना. यहाँ वो वेंडर में हमारा ऐसा वेंडर नहीं है, नॉट एप्लीकेबल. हाँ भरना पड़ेगा, वन व्यू भरना पड़ेगा. और कोई और कॉन्ट्ररी तो विक्रम सर के अगेंस्ट कोई नहीं जाएगा. हाँ ठीक है. हाँ वो तो सरकार को लॉस और उससे तो मतलब नहीं है, तो अभी तक पोर्टल सुधर जाता. हाँ आप बताइए. सी सेक्शन 79 कब अप्लाई होती? when you owe that amount to that particular person. When does my liability to pay that person arise? Based on my contractual commitment. So if my contract says that I am liable to pay you amount, or I am not withhold the amount of any GST which is not uploaded, I can argue, and we have done this before the department also, that contractually, even though amount is coming in my ledger, it is not payable to that person. It is not payable to that person, and therefore DRC 13 will not apply. We did this for 2-3 clients, and the department person also agreed. The next thing, only thing he said, ki the moment you don't pay that amount in future to that person, it would amount to recovery of GST from vendor, and you will have to reverse your ITC. So either ways, this will be there, but you can contest DRC 13 later on this particular basis. Okay. So thank you very much for a patient hearing. Any queries you can take up? Thank you very much.
Mr. Norman, please, just a moment, please. You have that for lunch state department. Queries, quick queries, if there are any.
Mandatory to issue recently then or the other program on then or it is also considered to issue.
Yeah. So it is mandatory electronically on the portal. The ASMB can also, as far as rule was, will be there on the portal. which DRC वन तो उन्होंने लिखा है ना, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक जजमेंट आकाश का पीजीटी में है कि उनमें डीआरसी वन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक लिखना, तो उन्होंने सेंड कर दिया. उसमें बोला वापस आप इशू करो. उसमें रूल में एक बार चेक करता हूँ एसएमटी ने, अगर रूल में इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वर्ड लिखा है तो मैंडेटरी है, अदरवाइज मैंडेटरी चेक.
Execution of Upright can be considered as a mistake occurring on the
mistake rectification. See, rectification is mistake apparent on record. Your reply, if you have not considered, you can take it mistake apparent. But ऐसे केसेस में rectification बहुत मुश्किल से होता है, but at least you can file rectification. That is a mistake. If in the order you say reply not filed, or he says reply filed not found satisfactory, these are two different things. Reply not filed is a mistake apparent on record. Reply filed and not found satisfactory is not subject to rectification.
reply filed. Facts considered contrary to what is filed in the reply.
And if you are given proper document, then you can give it like this. That's a way you can do it. Normally what we do is there's no harm in getting the data. Okay. If you don't respond, what happens? They may come to you. If you don't respond, they may find that this system is not responding. So is it a fake address or what is it? So they may come to you. So we first write an email that you have given an email from official ID. Okay? And it doesn't have this, kindly shows a letter with them, you are given email to the data. If you don't want to give data, then you don't reply. If they come to you, ठीक है, then you will ask you reply to me here, you will say हाँ भाई दिन नहीं है, then reply. Then coming to you, कि why this person is not responding. So if you don't have any harm in giving data, so if you give the data, ask them that please issue me a letter with date because my management says you don't reply to properly. That's true.
That's a lot. Question that without getting it. We have to keep this kind and they should actually look at because or if you have something I think good.
Actually, but you can log in as well. Huh. That is practically that is the option. If you want to go to high court, it's take it out, you can go on that basis. But otherwise you appeal it because sometimes they are also MPs. Like I'll tell you a case in the state of Telangana, show cause notices which were issued in 18, 19, 20, 2021. Similar show cause notices were again issued in 2023 to my clients and we got from the email ID @IIT. ठीक है तो मेरे क्लाइंट को नोटिस आया बोला सर ये लोग कुछ स्कैम है तो यार शोकॉज नोटिस में कौन स्कैम करेगा यार आइडेंटिकल जीएसटी डेटा वो अपना स्कैम करना हो तो कोई लिंक देगा पेमेंट करेगा प्री डिपॉजिट मांगेगा वो शोकॉज नोटिस इशू करके क्या स्कैम कर रहा है एंड देयरफॉर शोकॉज नोटिस वाज आइडेंटिकल रिटर्न के फिगर डेवलपमेंट then they went to the department बोला हाँ ये हमने इशू किया है because we did not see your reply on the portal so we felt since you have not replied we have to issue another notice मुझे सर आईआईटी ने उसको आउटसोर्स किया है तो इसीलिए उसने भेजा है तो देयर द सप्लायर एंड एजेंट कवर होता है इधर गवर्नमेंट के लिए एजेंट भी कवर हो एससीएन के कम्युनिकेशन का ठीक है तो ऐसा हो गया तो दैट्स लास्ट वन बाकी लोग भी है नॉर्मल है
Yes, we have. That means that the formative keep being like fixed content and the way the back and the holograms all the time in the way. I thought
73 का टाइम लिमिट है फ्रॉम 74 का ओके so assuming your case is a non fraud case ठीक है so you cannot even notice for something now if you have not got a notice for that particular thing suppose now your 1 and 3B has a mismatch till today okay and you are very fortunate department has not come to you or whatever are they have come you have explained it is okay today for 17 18 they cannot give you a notice they will try to give you notice under 74 but you succeed so there is no reopening per se see income tax mein kya there is a system of passing assessment order GST is self assessed even service tax or self so there is no system of passing assessment orders for everybody so you are returning on an order it is your self-assessment thing which you have done. So 73 since time limit was gone, then they cannot give you the this.
wait, you can't take the yourself.
No, for time limit also. Tax plus penalty, everything. No, man, your tax will come into tax net. So today, if I have to capture your tax liability of 17, 18, I will invoke 74. Give you a notice for tax interest and penalty. 74 doesn't only elevate the penalty. They cannot levy penalty and say भाई टैक्स छोड़ दो गलती हो गई हमको पेनल्टी दे दो वैसा नहीं होगा पेनल्टी इज अ पिगीबैक लेवी ऑन टैक्स
Sir, so basically we are receiving a lot of DRC 13 notices.
हाँ
So now our 1819 assessment is going on. Vendor has filed GST one of 1819, 1920, 2021. But he has filed previous only 1819. So I know in future also demand will come because government is issuing notices about this view. Okay, so now I don't want to pay to the government. I'm keeping on hold because I know in 1920, 2021, I have the amount which government will record from me. So I don't want to pay the government for DRC 30. So what reason I can give? Because I can't give them directly in 1920, 2021. They have not filed because it's like कि मैं खुद अपने पैसे की बुलाने वाला हूँ वैसा. So is there any reason department giving like with one?
As I explained, you have of course it has to be as per contract. क्योंकि अगर violation है तो आपके ऊपर केस करेगा तो आपको पैसे देना. Only when you show in your letter that that amount was not payable to him, you can avoid DRC credit. If you say that amount is payable to him, ठीक है, then DRC credit will happen. So now in your contract there is a clause that if he doesn't comply, I will recover. Kept on board. Tomorrow you are sure that he is not paid, he is not going to pay. Technically, you are supposed to reverse ITC because there is not the double penalty.
They can stand up or not. So also you are not taking it in five period or
Yes, yeah. So if you have not paid GST to some person, how can you take ITC?
no, but interest and penalty would be more now. So if we calculate the interest and penalty,
To show that I paid, वो बाद में तो
yeah. So I think
जो आपने आप उसको जरा वो आप फाइट कीजिए. जो आपने होल्ड किया जो आप उससे रिकवर करेंगे. टेक्निकली उस पे आपको इंटरेस्ट को लाइन भी आएगा. हम इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी फाइट करना है ना तो वो हम कर सकते हैं कि कोई लॉ नहीं था पे करने का. मीन्स तो मैं नहीं भरा तो मेरा इंटरेस्ट आएगा. पहले का तो मेरा एंटाइटलमेंट था ही गवर्नमेंट को भरने का क्योंकि मुझे पता ही नहीं था कि उसका ये वायलेशन. टू दैट एक्सटेंट यू कैन कंटेस्ट. कोई प्रेसिडेंट नहीं है आगे आएगा. बट टू से कि मैं वो पैसा गवर्नमेंट को ना दूं वो सही.
I think I don't see any further queries. Last one I think we can take up.
ये वो बोला इसके पास जाओ ये बोला इसके पास सेम ऑफिसर है. सेम ऑफिसर की नहीं कर रहे हो. सेम इशू सेम क्लाइंट एंड सेम इशू. तो क्या उसका प्रॉब्लम है? टाइम लिमिट आपका चला गया. नहीं ना. हाँ तो कर सकते हो. पर वो क्या होगा कि आपको उसको बोलना पड़ेगा सर आपके आसपास वालों से पूछिए रेक्टिफिकेशन के लिए कौन सा बटन क्लिक करना है. और तो ऐसे नहीं है. उतना आप मेहनत कीजिए कि रेक्टिफिकेशन किया डिपार्टमेंट को उसको रीसेट नहीं हो रहा था सर्विस टैक्स का चालान भरना. और कोशिश किया. फिर मेरे दूसरे जुरिडिक्शन गया तो मैं बोला यार तुम्हारे ऑफिसर के ऑफिसर को फोन करा. फिर उन्हें रीसेट करके दिया ऐसे यूजर नेम पासवर्ड. फिर हमने चालान भरना अपनी रिपोर्ट. तो हो सकता है देखिए कोई भी ह्यूमन नेचर अपनी गलती को इजीली एक्सेप्ट करता नहीं. ठीक है. बट ये तो यार डबल डिमांड है. और अगर अमाउंट बढ़ा है तो हम आईटो के आ सकते हैं. बट इसमें तो कोई इशू नहीं होगा.
Sir, in that case, I face, sorry, it's my query. In that case, I face the similar issue. Officer is saying that for first order you have gone to appeal. तो वहां पे आप जीत गए तो ये मैटर तो रह ही गया. तो I will not allow you the rectification. So that is also practical. That's what we thought. Yeah.
मेरे चार के केस में शोकॉज आया. बोला आपने 3 करोड़ का क्लेम किया फ्रॉम नॉन एनजीपीपी. ठीक है. पीवी में था 23 लाख का क्रेडिट. स्टेट से भी आया सेंटर से भी आया. दोनों में 1-1 करोड़ का आया. तो सेंटर ने एग्री किया कि मैं इसको स्टेट का आपका ऑर्डर आ जाएगा तो आई विल ड्रॉप. तो स्टेट वाले ने वापस 1 करोड़ कंफर्म किया. फिर हमने उसको लिया यार 3 भी तो देखो मेरा. लेकिन किया वो. आपको वो दिल्ली था. पता नहीं उधर के कंसल्टेंट का क्या पहचान है अलग बात है. बट यू नो प्लीज को करना हो गया. फिर वो तो हायर हम कर दे. आप ज्वाइन कमीशन को मिलेगा. स्टेट वाला है तो ज्वाइन कमीशन को जी क्या था असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर डेप्यूटी या ज्वाइंट पे लेवल का एग्जाम कीजिए. ये चीजें तो ठीक है.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir. We had very insightful session, and we all look for practical difficulties, because we know the law, we know the section, but how to practically
how to practically interpret it and how to present our case. That is a crux which we all got today. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. And on behalf of WRC, we are very honored to have you. And thank you for the session, sir.